everybody. And I have the pleasure to talk to Noosheen today, who is working with me as my head coach in the Brain Skin Self Healing System, where we're working a lot about, with the nervous system in order to help heal chronic skin issues without all of the diets and the detoxes and the creams that only ever provide temporary relief. And today, Noosheen, I want to dive deep with you in terms of how we actually do that, because a lot of people hear about nervous system regulation and brain rewiring and don't really know what all of that means. And so, as an expert with over 10 years of experience in the whole field of nervous system regulation, I really want to hear from you, Noosheen. Like, tell us a little bit about what the nervous system even is and why it matters so much, not only for our mental and emotional well-being, but also for our physical bodies.
Thank you very much, Mia. Thank you so much for having me today. Hello, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here today with all of you. And I am so passionate about this topic. This has been a very important part of my personal life and my professional life. And the reason that I care so much about the brain and nervous system is that I have started meditation when I was 21. And today I'm 53. So it was a long journey of doing my own healing and also all the professional trainings and studies that I have done. I've always been saying that I'm my first client. I have been always trying everything on my own. But really, it was a lot always about the mindset, about trying to reframe everything. And later in my life, I realized that if we don't take care of the body and nervous system, it's going to be very difficult to really feel the change. So this is why I love that so much, because it changes everything. Like, I remember the other day you were sharing that there's lots of things going on in your life now with traveling, going back to Europe and having family visits and getting married. But then you notice that internally you are calm. This is exactly my own experience. For many years, I thought I'm a very anxious person. I really believed that I'm like that. That's it. Some people are anxious. I'm an anxious person. But then with these practices and learning to take care of my nervous system, I realized that no, it's not true. That was my nervous system was reacting like that. So really realizing that it's life-changing. It completely changes everything.
That's amazing.
So if you would like to share anything, if no, I will continue. I want to make it more of a
Absolutely,
conversation than just me talking.
I want to hear about all of it. And you're saying like it was life-changing to start with, working with the nervous system. How is that different to, traditional things like affirmations or like mindset work and just thinking positive? Like, how is nervous system work different, and what does it actually mean to work with the nervous system in a very practical way?
Exactly. That's an excellent question. Nervous system is actually the part that is taking care of every single act that is happening in all the functions, our breathing, our heart rate, the level of our energy, the way that we experience the emotions. Everything is passing through our nervous system. The way that we can focus, our sleep, our digestion, our immune system, anything, our decision making. And, it's incredible to think about even our decisions are affected by the nervous system, because when we are under the stress, the amygdala, that is the center that is actually controlling the emotions, will hijack the prefrontal cortex, that is the part that makes decisions. So if you know it very well, when we are stressed, we cannot even make good decisions. So it's really affecting all aspects of our life. And what is most important in this conversation is that in modern life, women, they are facing a lot of stress at home, at work, stresses that comes with the health, with everything that concerns them about the pollution in the environment, all the contamination that we have in water or in the food, You know, when you think about it, the amount of stress that people live with all the digital world, with all the changes, with all the AI, with all the environmental effects, global political situations, wars happening, all the news we receive, is so much stress on the nervous system. So when they are not aware and they are constantly living under the pressure that all these external stressors they create on their system, what happens that they find themselves being overwhelmed, and all kind of issues that are the result of chronic stress. And then they start to blame themselves. They feel that it's aging, it's maybe because, and they find different reasons for it. Sometimes the reason is the diet, so they change all this kind of diet. So it becomes so difficult for them to be able to manage all those symptoms, that technically it's because the nervous system is dysregulated. And why we believe that it's so important is that sometimes you may be surprised to say, is it possible that all these symptoms, and it's a long list if I want to tell them, all of them can relate to the nervous system. In one person to another is different. It's very unique to each person, the way that their sensitivities show up, their body react to the stress. But a Harvard research study was showing that between 70 to 90% of the reasons that people visit a doctor is directly or indirectly because of the stress. And this is where it shows us why it's so important. It can show up in many different ways. It can be muscle tension, it can be pain in different part of the body, it can be digestion, it can be getting sick all the time because the immune system is weak. It's because when we are under the stress, our body knows very well how to come back to homeostasis, really the state that it finds its own balance. But what happens is that when the stress is chronic, then the body is not capable to go back. Sorry, I'm hearing a little echo here, so I don't know why. Anyway, I hope the sound is good on the other side.
Yes, yes, I can
So,
hear you perfectly.
yes, perfect. So what is happening is that our nervous system is made to go into activation in order to deal with all kind of life stress. That's perfect. So the regulation doesn't mean that we have to be always like a Buddha statue into this Zen calm. No, it's okay. We get stressed, we get angry, we go run, rush, we do all kind of these activations of our nervous system. But the most important thing is that the body needs to go back to rest and digest and recovery and being able to have the parasympathetic activation. So it means that the body can get a chance to recover, to recuperate, and to have this time of recovery. So what happens is that with the constant stress, this transition doesn't happen. The person stays long time in this states of stress. So what happens, for example, in the morning they had a unpleasant conversation with their boss at work. In the nature, that feels like a tiger attacked you. So you had a stress. So in normal life, in nature, it used to be the danger time passed, and then you can shake your body like a lot of animals do. They shake themselves and they continue their life. But what happens with us is that we continue to think about it. We continue to just remember that conversation. We think about all the worst case scenario. I will lose my job. This will happen. This will happen. Always the mind, because that's another survival function, thinks about the worst case scenarios. So it will continue to build up all the worst case scenarios, and the tension, the stress, the anxiety continues over hours. After you go to bed, you cannot still sleep, you cannot get a good sleep, you go next time to the work. So imagine this is just one example of one kind of a stress. So imagine then there are family and there are children and there are this and there are that. So the body doesn't get the chance to really calm down and to regulate itself after all these kind of dysregulation modes. So in the long term it becomes dysregulated. Why? Because when we are in distress, when we are in survival mode, body says we need to survive, so I need to suppress the immune system, because that's not necessary. The survival is first. So the immune system is affected and all kind of the digestion system is affected. The high stress hormones, they can start to destroy different parts in the body. So that's what happens with a lot of skin issues, that they have direct relationship with the stress. Then I leave that part to you to talk a little bit more about how the dysregulated nervous system can affect the skin and our health, if you'd like to
Yeah,
share.
absolutely. I just want to like touch on basically what you said around like the event that happens, right? Like the stressful conversation with our boss. And then that actually a lot of the chronic element of the stress is coming from us replaying and reliving a situation in our mind, in our heart, in our body through the act of remembering it. But it's not real anymore because the day goes on and we go on with our lives. But actually, instead of letting that instance be what it was and have the stress and then calming back down, and like letting it go, we kind of keep almost being attached to it, right? By replaying it in our mind and making it more real. And again, anything that you repeat, whether it's repetitions in the gym of your muscles or repetitions of certain pathways in their brain, they become stronger, right? And it's not something that we necessarily do consciously. It just happens through the power of the emotions, because emotions are almost the fuel behind thoughts, right? And that's why emotions are so important to work with and to process through, because they are almost like the bridge between thoughts and the body, like the communication bridge between the two. And so, yeah, when it comes to like emotions and emotional processing, what are some of the, best practices, so to say, that you like to use for yourself or with your clients to really help them shift out of an emotional state like that and thereby help them actually change their thought patterns, right? Because it's not that we use like little affirmations or positive self-talk, which a lot of, the self-help industry out there tells us to do to change ourselves and feel better. But usually the subconscious mind, which is very much related to your emotions, right? And to impulses and feelings and all of that, is often rejecting any positive statements, right? Of like, I am healthy or I am completely calm. There's usually some resistances in there, right? And so,
Absolutely.
yeah, I'd love to hear from you a little bit more on like how to deal with those inner resistances and to really work with emotions rather than just telling ourselves we're okay.
That's an excellent question. Actually, something that is very important is that, first of all, we need to realize that every thought we think, it creates some real chemical products in our body. So what happens is that when we are in a state of emotion, we get certain types of chemical products in our body. And if we have those emotions over the time, over and over, our body starts to crave those emotions. For
Yes.
example, if I'm an angry person, and anger is the place that I usually go there. So all the range that comes with anger, frustration, resentment, this is not fair. All the range that comes with anger. For every person, there is a small different nuance there. And then what happens is that state, that emotional state, it becomes kind of my default. Whatever happens, I get frustrated. So then something that is a little bit, I know that is a little bit hard to take it, but it's that the same way that we get addicted to a cigarette or nicotine or sugar or any kind of substance, we can get addicted to that emotional state.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
what happens is that we have to be very aware that it's not about this person making me angry and this neighbor making me angry and that the other driver, it's not about them. It's to realize that I always use other situations in order and conditions and circumstances to go to the same emotional states that I always feel. So when we take that responsibility, which is, I know it's not easy to take it, to say
It's
that it's
hard.
not because
Yeah.
this person did that I feel like that. Because as soon as we start, I am like that because, and there is another name of another person or an external reason, we never have power. We don't have control because the world is the world. It continues to be the world as it is. And I will always lose my power to all these external reasons. So the first step is to take responsibility of how I feel is my responsibility. It's
And
not
that's
about
huge
it's my
already.
fault.
That's huge already, right?
That's
Because just
huge.
briefly on that, like I remember I had a conversation with Matthias recently where he called me out on that, of like, my love, you are an addict. And I'm like, "Ah, no, I'm not, like this is a really
It's
hard
very
reality to
hard
take.
to take it.
Like I don't want to be addicted to emotions. No, no, I'm stronger than that. I'm like how you would do it with anything else, right? Like, oh no, I only need the cigarette when I really want it. I could stop at any time, right? And same with emotions. Like, oh no, like I only feel like this when I have a reason to feel like that, right? But like you're saying, subconsciously we're looking for people, for situations, for reasons to reaffirm deep-rooted subconscious beliefs that come, like you said, with a certain emotional cocktail attached to it that the body gets very used to biochemically, right?
Exactly. And I call it usually for my clients in order to have a visual of it, I say imagine as if you're sipping on a bitter smoothie. Let's call it whatever emotion it is. And it's you constantly go back to it and you drink it and your body says give me more, give me more, give me more because I need that. So the moment that we accept it and we really go to this place of accepting that I want to feel well, regardless of what is happening around me, we take back our power and I say, okay, everything can happen every day, but I'm not supposed to, I don't want to be frustrated all the time because of all those reasons. So when we take that responsibility, there is this shift that we say, we take a deep breath. This is how I feel now. I'm frustrated. So now what? The next step is when we have accepted our responsibility, we take a pause, we step back. I call it all the time, mind the gap, create a gap with the situation and don't
Yes.
jump into the reaction. The first thing is to take deep breath. This is our most powerful tool that is free, that is always with us. And what happens is that it immediately starts to change our heart rate and immediately affects the brain. So, I worked with Heart Math Institute, this biofeedback machine that is Inner Balance Coherence Plus. So the first thing that I was very surprised to see is that the moment you start to slow down your breath, immediately the heart rate changes. And immediately the nervous system, the parasympathetic activates. Immediately the brain wave start to change as soon as you slow down your breath. Just that. You just take a deep breath, you don't answer, you don't say anything, you don't react, you go into your breath. What it does is that we call them portals, like for regulating nervous system. One of the most powerful portals is breath. So what we can do, for example, is this best advice of Dr. Andrew Huberman, the neuroscientist who is working specifically in his laboratory to control the stress, is this breathing pattern that we call it physiologic sigh, which is taking a deep breath, filling up the lungs, and then another shorter one on top of it, and then exhaling through the mouth. Like we can do it right now and feel it immediately in our body. Like,
Yeah. Reminds me almost that that happens pretty automatically when we're crying, right? We're like,
exactly,
right? And so
exactly,
it's like, which obviously crying is like one of the most evident and strong releases of emotions that we can express, right? And so it just reminded
exactly.
me that this breathing pattern very naturally occurs with a strong emotional release, like crying.
Exactly, exactly. It's so important to be in tune with our body. For example, crying can be considered, oh, it's weakness, or I shouldn't cry because whatever reason. It's so important to be in contact with our body. If we need crying, we can sit, even put a movie, and have a good cry and let
So
it
good.
out. I let it out because what happens, I was reading in some research that the strongest feelings in the world, like the grief of losing a loved one, we don't have worse than that. If you really sit and feel it fully and completely, and you allow yourself, you don't say, oh no, stop, you shouldn't. No, stay with that, feel it fully and completely, maximum in 7 days. That traumatic way of it, it will finish. And you will be able to be, of course, we will miss them. Of course, we will be sad, but it will not paralyze us in life. The electric charge goes away and we will be able to continue our life. So it's so important to just be in tune with our body. Like, okay, how do you feel right now? Okay, I'm frustrated. Okay, take a few deep breaths and then ask your body, what do you need? What do you need at this moment? I don't recommend usually when we have extreme emotions to sit for meditation. I always invite people to
Yeah.
just try to release the stress first through the somatic work, through the shaking the body, taking a shower, take a walk outside, connect with nature. That's one of the most powerful forms that can regulate your nervous system, can ground your body, can bring you to the moment. Even there are this beautiful research that is done about this state of awe, that you go outside, you pay attention to colors, to patterns, to flowers, to birds, to look at the patterns that are in the nature and be in the state of wow. Just pay attention to those details and see how beautiful they are. This
Yeah.
state of awe is a healing for nervous system. It really brings us to the present moment. That pleasure that we are sensing through our senses, like the five senses, it really grounds us in the moment, and it's a form of healing. They call it
Absolutely.
healing with pleasure. It's really, there are a lot of research about that the pleasure can heal us. They can really feel good through our five senses.
Yes. And also what you mentioned with the perspective, right? And it's not about, again, telling yourself, oh, you have so much to be grateful for. That can sometimes be supportive. But like what you said, with going out and paying attention to different things, something that really helps me is to look up in the sky and almost think like I'm a little, like a little ant in this craziness of the ant colony with millions and billions of other little ant humans that are just running around, and everybody thinks that their life and all of their problems are so significant and so important and nobody understands because, like everything is just too much. And so when I look in the sky, I get to see and experience that more in an embodied way rather than just cognitively thinking about it, because I can almost see like from a bird's eye view of everything that's happening. And another very helpful like practice in the moment to apply is also what I found is to open yourself into a form of peripheral vision, because
Yes.
oftentimes when we're focused on a problem or some unwanted state that we're in this tunnel awareness and we can only think about that. We're obsessed about it, like with our
Exactly.
skin, for instance, right? Of like we can only think about how do I fix this, right? And so literally using your eyes and your sight as one of your brain's strongest senses, right? To see if you can see like a little bit more of the peripheral vision, right? Of what you
Mm-hmm.
can see, almost as if you try to look all around you. And
Mm-hmm.
so changing your gaze in that way, and
Mm-hmm.
again, pairing it with a deep breath or like a regular breathing pattern sounds so freaking simple, but it's so effective. And I think a lot of people think that it has to be like this tra-ra complicated
Exactly.
thing that you need to do in order to calm yourself down, when it actually can be so simple. And I think that's also an invitation to, you listening right now here, if I could go through the screen, to really allow healing in general to be more simple, and to then just do the simple things, which, by the way, is not always easy. Okay? Simple and easy can be two very different experiences, right? Taking a deep breath, opening your vision to a peripheral field is simple. Going out for a walk is simple, but it's not always easy because it requires a certain sense of overcoming yourself in the moment to break the loop and the pattern that you're clearly stuck in when you're having a negative emotional reaction, right?
Yes.
And actually realizing that you have the power to do that. And I know that you and I are working with processes that help the brain in a very profound way to be able to break patterns like that. That's when it becomes a lot easier to take actions like that are supportive, right? Whether it's a walk out in the park or just like getting a hug from someone, which one of my favorite ways to regulate my nervous system.
Or hug ourselves
Yeah,
and
hug
put our
ourselves.
hand on our
Exactly.
chest.
Yeah.
It's extremely helpful.
Yes, especially I think with, dealing with physical conditions, whether it's skin conditions or chronic health issues, like I mean, I remember so vividly how much I just felt let down by my body all the freaking time,
It's
you
true.
know, and completely ignoring how many millions of things are going on in here without me ever thinking about it. And
Exactly.
so just instead of asking always what's wrong and what doesn't work, like what is actually working? And
Exactly.
kind of just paying a little bit more attention to that. And not to say that what's not working should be dismissed. That's another
Mm-hmm.
big flaw, right? That we often see in a lot of self-healing modality is that we're just kind of trying to shove the negative over there and not deal with it and just focus on the love and light over here. Like that doesn't work either. And
Absolutely.
so coming back to the breathing, like one of the powerful ways in which to dissolve whether it's thought patterns or emotions also in the moment combined with the breathing is to really not escape the negative. So I always
Mm-hmm.
imagine it like a bubble, okay? Let's say I just feel a bubble of frustration, annoyance. I'm just like, oh my God, everything just kind of sucks right now. So
Mm-hmm.
I imagine this bubble and I go into this bubble of just like everything sucks. It sucks so much. Oh my God. And I dramatize it and I intensify it. And I'm like, self pity, like, feel it. Come on. Like, instead of not allowing myself to feel that way, I'm like, bring it on. Bring it on. Let's dive fully into the whole, like, I'm such a victim and everything is just, it's just me and it's just too much and why? And so I feel it, like you said, as fully and completely as I can. And then I take a deep breath all the way. And then I imagine that this bubble just pops over the top of my head into a million different pieces. And
I love that.
I pay attention what comes up next. And I'm promising you that you will feel an immediate sense of relief, because what happens is that we're applying a very natural principle of life force, which is compression and expansion. Literally what your heart does all the time through pumping, what your lungs do, right? Like there's always a contraction and an expansion. And we can do the same, apply the very same idea to emotions. So we contract into an emotion and feel it fully, as deeply as we can. Take a breath to contract it even more. And then expand, forget an exhale, let go, and see what else is there. Maybe next you notice like some, I don't know, some self-shaming thoughts, or you notice a pain in your body, and try to just keep doing it. Go into whatever unpleasant stuff you notice, almost like you're in a bubble, blow it up, and then on your exhale, let it explode. And usually, in 90% of cases, you do that 6-7 times, and you will notice that there's no more contents coming up. There's going to be a silence and a sense of peace, a sense of relief. It literally takes 2 minutes. Again, simple, but not easy. And
Not
everybody is
easy at the
listening. I
beginning.
want to see if anybody's going to try this. But yeah, go ahead. What did you want to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to say it's not easy at the beginning, but soon it gets easy, and soon the good feelings that we is the reward of doing it. It's
Yeah.
so good that we cannot afford in staying in those bad feelings. I don't want to say good or bad, like uncomfortable, I want to say. So
Yes.
so it's really so rewarding, because something that I really like to share is that sometimes a lot of people feel resistance of doing these exercises. It's as if one is because we are addicted to those states. Second is because it becomes our identity. It's a part of this is who I am. For example, I'm a person that, I'm a victim somehow for whatever reason. And then if I want to let go of that identity, it's hard. So there's a lot of resistance of doing these amazing exercises and practices, processes that we have in the program, that you have put so beautifully together. And it's just these powerful processes are there, but there is resistance of doing it that we have to be aware. The resistance is a part of the problem, and it's a part of our mind resisting, that not wants to go to that release state, so we can do process about that. I don't want to do this.
Exactly.
To get rid of that resistance. And also another part that is very psychological is that sometimes, because when we were a child, when we were a baby, every time that we had a problem, we communicated our pain with the world with crying and being, upset. So then sometime ran and took care of us. So that became like a little bit that energy stays. And somehow we feel that if I continue to stay unhappy, someone will do something about it, which is unfortunately not true. So these are all these inner, reasons that sometimes we don't want to do this work in order to liberate ourselves, like you said, and it's so true. Sometimes it takes just a few minutes, but we stay for days and months and years in some cases with those emotions. just because we don't want to do this work because it has become a part of our identity, or it has become just, this is who I am, or we believe that that's it, I'm like that, or no, I will stay angry because they don't deserve. They have to know that they have ruined my life. So I will stay upset and angry, and I will prove to them that they have ruined my life because I want to be right. I want to show that they have hurt me. And it's so counterintuitive, but it's true that sometimes you don't want to be that happy person because for some hidden reasons that we have to figure out.
That is,
So,
I just want to add to that because there is almost always a hidden benefit to you feeling shit. You know, like some part of you, however mixed and weird it might be, is getting something out of feeling bad. And so it can be very helpful to just ask yourself, like, what's what's my goal here? You know, when you're feeling this, you know, victimhood, like you said, or just like, oh, why me? Why is this happening? You know, like, what do I get out of feeling that way? I observed for myself that it's often like a sense of validation. You know, like I validate myself in those moments. I'm like, you know what? Yes, you deserve to feel that way. Like, yeah, somehow I'm building up my self-esteem by actually feeling really bad. So it's another, you know, polarity, which obviously we're working a lot with in our processes, in our work with the brain skin self-healing system, of releasing those polarities, releasing almost those seeming paradoxes and opposites, like conflicting needs that actually take so much energy, not only up here, but from our entire body, right? And
perfect.
the whole idea of those hidden benefits is actually really well studied also in psychosomatic research, that in most chronic conditions, not just chronic skin conditions, but chronic health conditions, there is a secondary gain. That's often what it's called, a secondary gain to the condition being there and being in place. And for me personally, when I explored that a little bit more, when I was still really sick, not just with my skin issues, but with hormonal imbalances and all of my severe like gut cramps or like stomach cramps, bloating, brain fog, my hair was falling out, like just everything, that I was asking myself for each of these different symptoms, like, or also just for my general state of misery, like, what am I kind of getting out of this? And again, what was surprising, and it's going to be different for everyone when, you know, you're going to do this exercise for yourself, but what came up for me is that I got a lot of attention and caring for, because I was always the hyper independent and strong, you know, person who got all of it together seemingly.
Yeah.
Right? That was the identity that I was displaying to the outside world, and that I also wanted to think about myself as, right? Like, I'm the strong, independent woman who can crush it all. And so when I realized, like, wow, man, like, now I'm actually really weak and sick, and I feel like I need others, that I had this, yeah, that my sickness was helping me to get help, was helping me to actually not work so much, not do so much, because I literally physically could not, right? And so it's almost
Very
like my body was giving me the permission for something that my heart wanted on a deeper level. That again, I only became conscious of through doing the processes that we're doing, because it's not something that you just intellectualize your way through. Like, you
no.
might understand and identify some of those hidden benefits for yourself, but then what? Then you need to emotionally release them, right? Because it's
Exactly.
not just about understanding why you are the way that you are. That can be a helpful starting point. But at the end of the day, it's about releasing those emotions under the surface so that they're no longer literally getting out through your skin as a detox organ, not just for physical stuff, but for emotions too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is so powerful. Like for many women who are running from one thing and to another and lots of responsibilities in life, sometimes it's just a permission to get sick, to have some rest.
Mm,
Honestly, if women just rest enough in their life, they give themselves enough of recovery and rest. First of all, that's one of the foundations of regulating nervous system is getting a good sleep, good quality sleep. It helps so much. It recovers you, it recuperates you so much. If you just put the social media away like 2 3 hours before going to bed, so that the eyes will not receive the blue light, so you will be able to dim the lights in the house, calm down the your state, getting a warm shower, getting ready to go to sleep. Take time to just do some calming meditation, prayer, something that can really calm you down, and go to get a good quality sleep at night. Oh my god, it's going to heal a lot of things. Then we don't have to get sick in order to get a good rest,
mm,
because that, unfortunately, that's one of the hidden reasons, is that the body needs getting the sleep and the rest it needs. So if you don't give it to it, it will oblige it and somehow. So
yeah.
there is something that you always repeat, and I love it so much, and it's so true. Nothing is random. Our body doesn't act randomly. Whatever it does, there is a reason, there is a wisdom, there is a communication, there is, if we listen, if we pay attention, all the answers are right there within us. Another point is that I want to really invite everyone, that this is what I so much love about this body of work, is that we find the answers inside. We don't go from this expert to another and to another, and from this social media
All the red
influencer
threads
to
in the
the other
world
one.
that we have all been deep into, yes. For sure.
We have done it. I'm guilty of it myself. There's no blame there. But at one point, when I stopped asking and looking for the whole world, there is a famous saying by this Iranian poet Hafiz, who was saying that my heart was asking me for the answers to all questions, and it was asking it from every lost person on the beach and this and there, and finally, until I realized that answer to everything was in my own heart. And when we really come back within and we start to listen, we start to pay attention, our body will tell us everything we need to know for our healing: mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, psychological, whatever we need, the answer is right within. And this is the power of this body of work that I love so much, because
Yeah.
it really shifts our attention from that desperate way of looking for solutions outside of us to getting that calm, peaceful place inside of us, and then to calm the mind, and all the answers are there. And
Yes.
this is a place that, oh my God, it's just out of this world, how it's precious and it's good and it's helpful, and we have all the answers there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very empowering at the end of the day, right? To not always, because you can find a million billion people and everybody will give you a different answer. So the
Exactly.
search is endless, right? And especially with the internet, like, and algorithms and stuff like that, like, they will tell you what you want to hear. But you can also always find someone who says the exact opposite, right? Oh, eggs are bad for you. And then you go somewhere else and the eggs are a superfood and they're so
You
good
need
for
four
you.
a day.
Exactly. And so it's like, well, who do you listen to at the end of the day?
Yeah.
And that comes a lot with trust and again with belief, right? Like, who do you believe and for what reasons, right? What do you see in this person that makes you believe them? And what are you not seeing in yourself for you to not believe and trust yourself a little bit more, right?
Right.
And I'm also not saying when it comes to all other things that we want to do in life, whether it's supplements or creams or, getting lasers for our skin or whatever, that you cannot do any of those things. You can, but please do it because you feel deep within that this is going to help you and is good for you and is right for you. Not because someone else told you that you should do that, right? And so I think that's another common misconception when it comes to self-healing, that you don't need anything and and you can't do anything else. Like, of
It's
course you
true.
can, right? But it's about letting it come from a place of inner agency and inner direction and decisiveness, rather than the next marketing gag of someone else telling you that this, magically works to heal all of your problems. Like, probably not, especially when it comes in a bottle, in a pill. Like, that's
Exactly.
consumerism, that's ultimate level of convenience, right? And I guess, we're very conditioned these days to fall for that because everything happens so immediate. And the cool thing is that healing can actually happen in similar ways very quickly, meaning time-wise, but not always in the ways in which you expect it. That's another huge thing that I've seen when it comes to the brain as a prediction machine, right? If we have tried so many things, then your brain will use your past to predict the future and say, well, the next thing is probably also not going to work. And so
Yeah.
it's not about the next thing, whether you try brain rewiring or you try another supplement or you try another other alternative treatment. It doesn't matter, because what matters is your belief at this point of whether this will work for me. Which is why, you and I, one of the first things that we often do with the women that we work with is to work on that exact belief. Because no matter what else you're going to do, if you're not going to work on that, nothing is going to work. Right? And so that's the power of belief. I mean, there's
So
so much
powerful.
research, right, on like the whole notion of the placebo effect, of how much you believe a pill or a syringe or a medication or even a person can help you. There's really fascinating research on like just, someone in a white coat coming to you who you were told is like an expert doctor,
Authority.
and they're exactly the authority, and they're gonna give you either, like they're telling you you're gonna heal in 2 weeks, or they're gonna tell you that you're gonna die in 2 weeks, and like what that does, not only up here and in here, but for your body, is mind blowing.
It
It's
is.
mind blowing. And I want to add one more geeky fact here, just because I'm remembering a research paper that I read that was literally blowing my mind. Because it's not just about your own belief in a person or in your healing, for example, but also there has been research done that shows that other people's belief in you and whether you can do something, whether you can heal, whether you can achieve this thing, matters just as much.
Wow.
Isn't that incredible? Which is
It
why,
is.
again, like the people that you surround yourself with and how they think about you and how they feel about you and how much they believe, for example, in your healing, matters just as much, and that's just something that's really important to keep in mind, that you don't always have to do everything by yourself when it comes to healing, right? That you don't have to figure it all out by yourself because of the power of the support and literally the belief of someone else in your healing, let alone, like their words and the physical, like, hey, it's gonna be fine, and all of the magic that that does in addition to it. But I think, yeah, when we're sick, especially, it can often feel like a very isolating experience, that we're alone, that nobody understands.
That's a very
But
lonely place.
exactly, it can be very lonely. And we know that loneliness can be as detrimental as smoking 12 cigarettes a day. There's
It
equal like amounts of
absolutely is.
research on that, which really like shows how much, yeah, the connection and community element matters, and especially for the skin, because the skin is literally the part where you experience closeness or separation,
Yeah,
right? And a lot of
through the
skin
skin.
issues,
Yeah.
just as a last thing that I want to add to that, a lot of skin issues arise from from relational conflicts of
Yeah.
closeness or separation, whether it's from an individual, from after a move that you were separated from a place. If you lost someone, you were saying that earlier with like, losing a loved one, even just like losing a job that you really loved, right? Like it's a sense of feeling disconnected that is very often present in those hidden conflicts underneath the surface of your skin because of it literally being the place where you experience those kinds of emotions of closeness and love versus loneliness and distance. Yeah.
Absolutely. The emotional aspects of the belief that we have about ourselves, about our life, it's really the saying of Caroline Myss, who says your biography becomes your biology.
Yeah.
The stories that we keep telling ourselves, it will show up in our health, it will show up in our body. And it's really not to make us anxious about, oh, I shouldn't think any bad thought now. No, I don't want to go there and add another pressure. But the invitation is that to be conscious that every thought, it's really affecting my life, my experience of life, and my biology, because the thought has those chemical products in my body. So really a very important question every day is, what do I think? How do I feel? How do I want to have my life? Am I just going on a autopilot just the same way that it was the day before and the day before and the day before, and I continue the same route? Or am I going to change? Am I going to choose? Am I going to exercise my power of choice, of sipping on that bitter smoothie, or shift it to a delicious smoothie? Start to feel the feelings of ease, of comfort, of peace, of calm. And these feelings actually is going to be extremely healing for the body, because the body needs the right environment in order to heal itself. And this inner environment, it's caused by our thoughts and our emotions. And as you said, and it's very important, it's not just to give us some fake affirmations that we don't believe in it. It actually will fire back. If I say something that I don't believe it, it's not going to work. And I even will feel like a fake, and my body will feel like, this is not true. It's like it becomes this inner conflict. So what I love about these processes is that it goes to the root cause of that problem. And I challenge everybody on this call to check if there is any conflict in your life that doesn't come from a polarity. There is one thing that there is, and there is another thing that you want that one instead of this one. So if you work with these polarity processes and you learn how to process your emotions in a healthy way, in respect to yourself, it will change the root cause of the problem. Not that you will have to fight all the time to, I shouldn't think negative. No, it's not possible. We cannot do that. Forget about it. It's not possible. What you can do is to go to the root cause of them and release them there. And continue to do that every day with all kind of thoughts and emotions that come up. And after a while, you will start to see your mind is calm. You don't get nervous the same way that you used to before. I was telling you at the beginning of the call, I used to be very anxious. I'm not anymore. The anxiousness shows up sometimes when I receive a bad news or something happens. Yes, it's normal. I breathe, I come back to my body, I do something, I take a warm bath, I take a walk, I do one of these processes, I do something, because I can't afford to stay in those uncomfortable feelings anymore. I know there is another option, and it's so rewarding to do this work that I don't allow myself to stay in those states that is just free suffering for nothing,
Yes.
and it
And
doesn't give me anything.
yeah. Yeah, and like instead of getting addicted to the negative emotional cocktail, right? How about we're getting so invigorated by the positive emotional cocktail that we can
Exactly.
experience when we no longer resist the negative? It's almost like you
Yeah.
need to move through the eye of the needle instead of just like, ah, I don't want to feel this because it just feels like, and I don't want to feel it, right?
And we
Well,
do everything not to feel it. We
exactly,
do
we do
everything.
everything not to feel it, which
We
just
go
kind of
on
makes
social
it
media, we
bigger
binge
and bigger.
eating, we do everything
Exactly.
not to feel that thing.
Exactly. Like the dishes, right? Of like, oh man, the kitchen looks like a mess. And then you just kind of keep piling it and like it looks worse and worse and it feels even more and more overwhelming to look at it, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, luckily there's ways of like not having to wash every single dish by itself, which is what most nervous system regulation approaches out there kind of do, because you have to do it all the time and it takes a lot of time. You have to do it regularly, like you would wash the dishes, right? One by one, so many piled up, and it's just pretty
It's
annoying
discouraging.
because I've been there for so many years of just doing
Yeah.
the work, right? And I don't really feel like actually getting anywhere with it. And so luckily, it's almost like we have a huge dishwasher where you can just, move it all in there and then like a lot of it is just done and taken care of very quickly and instantly in the moment rather than having to keep doing it, right? And that's why, I mean, I'm German, right? I love efficiency. And so that's why, yeah, after so many years of studying and experimenting with all of those nervous system tools out there and like, yeah, literally researching them in my master's degree and practicing them on myself, practicing them with different clients and, seeing what actually works and deriving the essence of that so that it can be so efficient of what we can achieve in just 90 minutes is just pretty mind blowing. And actually, I want it to be a sense of like sparkle of hope, right? Of like what is possible in a short amount of time, where you can actually condense years of inner work in just a few hours, sometimes even just 1 or 2 hours a week, right? And not every day, all the time during this magical window in the morning where your brain is just coming alive and it's this in certain like brainwave state, and then you already feel bad when you haven't used that window, and then it already catalyzes the next shame spiral. So there's no need for all of this additional pressure of I have to fix myself and I have to heal myself, even internally, right?
Mm.
Because there is other ways. And Noosheen, just to wrap up our conversation for today, I want to just hear from you, like, what is one message of hope or one key takeaway from our conversation today that you would love every woman who's listening here today to just really remember deeply in her heart and in her mind?
Honestly, if I want everyone to live with one message, is that you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you, because unfortunately, all the things that we have tried and it didn't work, there is one layer that says it doesn't work. Another layer is that something is wrong with me. Honestly, I want everybody to feel that in your heart. There is nothing wrong with you. There has been just some whatever that has been that it didn't work for you, but there are powerful processes, there are ways that will work for you. And when you make your mind, I'm going to do the work, instead of looking for that magical pill or something that is going to miraculously heal me, instead of all of that, we come back to our power. My mind can heal me fully and completely with all the everything that comes with my body, with all of this. When we learn the example is just that you're in front of a computer, it doesn't work the way you want, and you get frustrated and you're angry, and then someone who knows how to work with the machine comes and they do a couple of commands, and that's done. It's just to learn how to work with this most powerful, complex,
I love that.
advanced machine of the world. You learn to work with it, it will do magic for you. That's my message.
Thank you. No, I have nothing to add to that. I think that's a beautiful analogy. And yeah, just to suspend our disbelief that this is not possible for us, right? Because we all have the same kind of machinery up here. And, science has shown us for decades at this point, especially when it comes to skin issues, how effective working with that machinery up there is for skin issues, but mainly, like you said, also for chronic health issues in general. And so we have the data, we have the science, we have so many real life results where I just, no matter what path you that are listening right now are taking, whether it's with us or someone else, or doesn't matter, that you just suspend this disbelief in the power of the mind-body connection. Just give it a shot. I mean, what else do you have anything to lose? I mean, either you're just going to keep feeling miserable and trying more supplements and more creams and more diets that haven't worked thus far, or you actually, see what else is possible. What else
Come
is
back to the
possible?
source.
Exactly. And that it can be easier than you might expect, which is a whole different set of beliefs in itself, that healing has to be hard. No, even feel in your heart and in your body what it feels like to entertain the idea it can be easy. Immediately like, oh my God, really? Instant sense of relief.
I feel that ease in my heart now.
Yeah, it's like, oh God, thank God, I don't have to work so hard anymore, all the time. Just
Yeah.
another belief that was drilled into us. You have to work hard to achieve your goals. Like, yes, of course, we want to do something and not be a stagnant stone or potato on the couch all the time. No, of course, you're going to show up and you are in the world, but you don't have to work so hard, especially to get something like rest and relaxation back into your life and the nervous system regulation that we've been talking about today. And so thank you so much,
my
Noosheen, for your
wish for
time,
everyone.
for
Thank
your expertise, for sharing all of that, and for anyone to leave any comments, any questions. We're always there to read every single one of them. And yeah, thank you for being here. I'm grateful. I'm grateful to you, Noosheen, and
Me too. Thank you
yeah,
so much.
thank you. Thank you.
It's very precious. Thank you so much for having me, and it's such a joy to have been with you and everyone on the call. Thank you.
Thank you.